New Hanover County Endowment presentation. Ms. Shannon Winslow and Dan Winslow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you to the commissioners. It's my privilege to be with you here today for the twice-yearly presentation to the County Commission. I'm joined by our board chairman, chairperson Shannon Winslow, as well as several members of our team here today. I wanted to just run through really quickly just a quick update about where we are and to reserve most of the time allotted for any questions that the commissioners might have. If I could get the slideshow to work. There we are. So we have been growing our staff in the last few months to add capacity to be able to accelerate our grant awards as well as other programs. We also have new directors who've joined us, one appointed by the county, one appointed by the Endowment Regional Coastal Board. Bill Blair by the county, you know him well. Holly Sullivan is from Amazon and is our newest board member. We, this year, are building the organization chart from the top down, basically trying to build senior teams who can then, in turn, in future years, hire their junior teams as the need requires. We'll be announcing shortly a hire for a vice president of external affairs to improve the level and frequency of communication with the county staff, and others in the community to make sure that we're always attentive to and consistent with the county's strategic plan as required by our founding documents. This org chart, by the way, is something that we'll pace ourselves over. We're not abandoning our plan to always have a lean staffing philosophy. In fact, even when fully staffed, will be a fraction of other endowments our size for the ratio of staff to the size of the fund. You're familiar with our four-part strategic plan. So since the last report by the endowment to the commissioners, we have awarded in Q4 more than $16 million of grants in the community. This past quarter was largely focused on community development because of the affordable housing focus, as well as social and health equity. The board right now is really evolving the endowment to include thought leadership as well as grants as part of what we do, because we want to make sure that we are a catalyst for change, a catalyst for new ideas that we can then fund to essentially have this county function as a social innovation laboratory, while at the same time supporting the well-established and successful nonprofit sector that exists. And so what I've called this continuum is thought leadership leads to grants. We always will measure impact. We measure success not by dollars out, but by impact back. If it works, we'll scale it and rinse and repeat and continue to do that again and again. You're familiar, I think, with the grants rainbow. We are in the process of putting together the final touches on the community grants and capacity grants program to have targeted grants, smaller grants, but targeted in the community. And I hope to have an announcement about the details of that sometime by the beginning of March, beginning of April latest. For the upper three bands of the rainbow, social impact investing, strategic grants, and project grants, we've actually received more than $40 million of grant requests as of the first week of January. We have $30 million of available funding, uncommitted funding this year. So the board, I think, wisely is in the process right now, as most philanthropies do from time to time, in the process of what we call our Pillar Refresh Project. We're trying to find out what are the 2 or 3 areas that we can really concentrate our funding on this year and next year to make sure that we have a meaningful impact rather than dissipating our funds, more broadly throughout the community for those upper 3 bands. The lower 3 bands, the community grants, capacity grants, and operations grants, of course, are sort of flying closer to the ground and will be able to be more accessible to more community organizations. But those impact grants, those big dollar grants, the board is in the process right now of refreshing our priorities and determining that area of focus. So I want to thank you for your time and attention today. I'm happy to answer questions that any of the commissioners might have, or my colleague, Chair Winslow, could join me as well for any questions that you may have about the board and sort of general vision more broadly.
Mr. Chair.
She wasn't pointing at you. Hi, welcome to both Winslows, unrelated. You've done an excellent job since you've been here, meeting with everyone, collaborating, learning, figuring things out. Same with your board. I've had the opportunity to speak with a few board members, and I like what you guys are doing, getting organized and getting ready to really tackle the 4 pillars to make generational change in our community, and I'm excited about that. And I like to see that you're using strategy as a tool. That's going to be helpful for the roadmap ahead. So I just want to say I appreciate the work that y'all put in, just really being on the ground and meeting folks. And I'm excited to see what comes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mrs. Up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dan, I just want to congratulate you for the good work you're doing within the community. As one who gets around a fair amount, I see you everywhere, and we really appreciate it. I know you had to hit the ground running, and you're doing it and surpassing, I think, expectations. So I really appreciate you getting to know our community, and so that you can speak from a place of knowledge, and I really appreciate that. I know how many times you don't have dinner at home, or that you forego family business just to be out there. It's really appreciated. Also, just a quick question. You know, maybe I'm ahead of myself here. The $5,000 grants, which I think is a brilliant idea, and by listening to you and several times, the plan is to get them out there and plentiful. And those $5,000 grants can be a huge lifeline to a lot of smaller organizations or even individuals. Have you been able to put any of those $5,000 grants out there in our community?
Not yet, Commissioner. You may have seen, if you look at the Arts Council, for example, there's a number of intermediary organizations that we've already funded that have in turn funded smaller operations. For example, the Carolina Beach Mural Project we helped fund, but that was not directly through us. It was through the Arts Council. We will be rolling out the direct funding for community grants and capacity grants. We're aiming for early March. Just by timing, we may or may not be able to get it done by then, but we'll be aiming for early March, early April at the latest. When that program is rolled out, we will announce it publicly, so it'll be well known and accessible to the community. And then the team is readying to be able to move quickly to be able to be responsive. For example, I've met with the Eagle Scouts just a few weeks ago, and they're very excited to know that the endowment, even though we have our lofty capabilities, hasn't forgotten that you can make a meaningful change, just one Eagle Scout project at a time.
Thank you.
Anybody?
Mr. Chair, I just want to specifically recognize Chair Shannon Winslow. Appreciate you stepping up into this very important role. I understand from talking with your colleagues that you're doing an admirable job, and I had no doubt that you would do exactly that. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. I want to echo that as well. I get paid to be here. None of our board members do. They're all volunteers, and they have given really an inordinate amount of their time to get the organization stood up from its infancy, and a huge guide to me as I get my legs under me as well.
You got your all-star team sitting there, don't you?
That's right.
I do.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question. It's my understanding now that your doors are basically open to the public at any time. There's no deadlines on applications, on submissions. It is at any time presented to you.
Correct. At the moment, we have a rolling grants process, so there's no deadline. When we roll out the community grants and the capacity grants program, we may actually start, and this needs to be decided yet, but there may be some value in staggering, quick application processes, every couple of months or so, just so that we can compare. When we have limited dollars, we have to turn down $5 of requests for every dollar that we award. So I think it's sometimes helpful to see what the full bucket of requests looks like, so we can make a relative judgment rather than just figuring them out as we go. But that's something we have to fine tune, and we'll announce what the sort of the rules of the road are as we complete that program.
So we are definitely excited to see what the endowment can do for New Hanover County, and it seems like you've got your team together, and you guys are working together and doing good things for our community. When is your next announcement on grants?
We had announced at the public meeting in December that our philosophy of capital grants, as you know, there's a lot of people who've come to us for major capital projects. And we had announced that our preference is, because our founding documents required us to treat these funds as the sacred trust of the people of New Hanover County. The concern is that if we're the first dollars in a major capital project, that project may never actually see the light of day. So we announced that we want to be the last dollars in a major capital project, because we want to be confident that when we put money, the people's money, into any given project, that we'll actually have a ribbon cutting ceremony and a building to show for it. So we have just made a $7 million grant, which is not quite ready for announcement yet, but we will be announcing it shortly, that will get us a program, a building that's worth more than $65 million. So a $77 million investment by the endowment helped put a $65 million capital asset in the county into existence. We're very excited about that as an example of the kinds of things that we can do to magnify the impact of this fund.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate y'all taking your time out to come see us.